is Time to Talk Day. It's a chance for us all to join the nation's biggest mental health conversation. And to mark it, we'll be having our own conversation with former Strictly winner and journalist Stacey Dooley, because that's the subject of her new book. So, ladies, let's welcome Stacey Dooley, MBE.
So fancy.
It's nice fantastically fancy.
Right. What a gang.
It's really lovely to see you, and it's been fascinating reading up about your book, because it's connected to the documentary series that you did regarding psych wards, isn't it?
Yes, exactly right. So I suppose it was just like a natural extension. We'd done 2 films in a mental health hospital in South London, and they were really well received, and I think I hadn't anticipated the enormity or the severity of the situation. And then, there was sort of almost this, like, insatiable appetite for more. So we thought, well, we're going to do a second book anyway. This sort of lends itself to, going on and having a proper chat. I mean, there's the chapter, it could have gone on and on and on. It's such a broad topic.
Yeah.
But
so is it an extension of the chats? Do we find out more about the people that you met?
Yeah, there was this one lad who's a total sweetheart. We catch up with Kyle, another young girl that we met in the 136 suite. Yeah,
Kyle's story really resonated with you, didn't you?
I just loved him.
Yeah.
He was just so ordinary and so relatable. And I went to school with lads like Kyle, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So to see him in a mental health hospital where you can have these preconceived ideas of what that kind of environment looks like, I think it's probably beneficial. Just to, you know, no one's exempt, and I feel so mindful that, Denise, you're sat here, you're such an advocate, and I've always sort of looked up to you in terms of how candid you've always been, so...
Well, because I think, you know, when 30 years ago when I started talking about it, there was nobody talking about it, and people tried to shut me down. For my own benefit, they thought. You know, we were just talking today about how, you know, even now just talking about possible hormonal treatments, but it takes a lot to get into a psych ward, you know what I mean? So people are in a pretty desperate situation. Have you suffered yourself, what do you think? Because we were talking earlier about the fact that you've done so many incredible documentaries that must have taken a toll on you mentally in some way.
I've been everywhere, innit?
Especially this week, because your stalking documentary was aired last week, and I heard you talking to Nihal about it on the radio last week.
Oh, I haven't seen it yet.
It's very, very good. It's very, very good. And such weighty subjects.
Yes.
You know, how do you deal with that emotionally and mentally?
Yeah, it can be taxing. I think sometimes you'll be filming with people who are contributing for sort of 12, 14 hours a day, you know what I mean? And you're so mindful that that's their reality. So I'm always, I don't want to say, oh, God, this is really difficult for me. But I think you do go home and inevitably you sort of reflect and
maybe sometimes even be haunted. I mean, I know sometimes here, just when we have a guest with a really heartbreaking story, I can't shake it off for like days. Sometimes they keep coming back to me.
But that's
and you feel powerless in a way.
Yeah, and that's you being sort of, you know, empathic and us sort of trying to practice compassion. But I do think there's a lot to be said for just listening, you know what I mean, and not judging. And I think we're so sort of angry and everything feels sort of so tribal and so divisive at the minute. I wonder if it is worth just taking a couple of minutes. How you doing? Are you OK? Where are you? I'm listening.
Yeah. And what I will never forget is, you know, when you first started doing the documentaries on BBC Three, I'm a massive fan of the documentaries.
Yeah, I am.
And I know that you're returning to the channel doing another show. But I distinctly remember what you had to go through because of a lot of the older, mostly men people in our industry, and the reaction they had to you was just ridiculous and awful and sexist for a lot of it.
Who's she? Where have they found out?
Yeah, you know, exactly. And so now, I can imagine that must have been difficult to get your head around at the time, but how do you feel about all that stuff now? Because not that you should have to prove yourself, but you've more than proven yourself.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying. I suppose, because I started when I was 19, 20, and I'm 35 in March. That's
so you
bonkers,
literally were working at the airport?
Yeah, working at Luton Airport.
Your mum saw an advert in the paper.
That's exactly right, Lindsay. My mum saw an advert, and essentially it was, you know, do you like fashion? Do you like travel? You know, do you fancy the idea of sort of being part of a television show? And I was like, oh, that sounds really, you know, exciting. Give them a call. Thousands initially applied, and you know what it's like, sort of
they
dwindled down. And then I went off to India and had the most, like, insightful, brilliant experience, and I just kept getting commissions off the back of that. But you're right, I mean, I'd kind of infiltrated a space that was very white, very sort of middle class, very sort of private school. And it was a bit like, oh, what is going on, you know?
And the best way
that's why Stacey gets such great things from people, because she's a normal girl.
And the best way to avenge people that say, you know, these things about is success, and that's what you've done, isn't it?
I feel really fortunate, yeah.
Do you care what they think now?
I don't now. I think when you're 19, 20, they're your sort of formative years, really, isn't it? And there is a temptation to conform, and you want everyone to think you're doing a good job. But you learn very quickly, actually, it don't matter how hard you work, some people, you're not for them, and that's all right. But it's like, now I think we rate consistently well when we reach demographics that don't necessarily listen to certain outlets, so I'm not too fussed now.
Obviously, Stacey, we know that you know, physical exercise is very good for those people who might be struggling a little bit, if they're well enough to even do physical exercise. So I know you go cringe about everything, but is Kevin going to take you dancing again? Because didn't he buy you some lovely dancing shoes?
He got me some Latin shoes for Christmas. My boy, he's such a sweetheart. So Kev bought me some Latin shoes because I loved it. It was such a brilliant experience. I loved it, Linda. And I said, oh, I'm desperate to have a dance, Kev, and he's busy and I'm busy, la, 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 la. So he bought me some new shoes, dancing shoes, and we're going to go and have a dance in Blackpool.
Oh.
Yeah, I know.
Right. Once you finished your house, because I know you're doing that.
Oh, the house gate, Charlotte. It's upside down, back to front. I've become sort of deeply passionate about insulation. You know, I've got an opinion on dimmer switches.
Proper grown up.
Rock and roll.
Your 19-year-old self looking at your middle-aged self. Very amusing. Oh, Stacey, it was beautiful to see you.
No, likewise.
Absolutely.
Honestly, thanks.
Actually, in real life, in the studio.
Look, as we know, Stacey's book and the documentary series covers a lot of very sensitive subjects. So if you've been affected by anything that we've mentioned today, don't forget you can go to our website for information on helplines that you can contact.